All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Getting Started webinar for Give 828 2025. My name is Natalie, and I represent Mighty Cause, the technology platform and partner behind Give 828. You'll be hearing from me a lot today, so it'll be nice to get to know you virtually. Some quick housekeeping items as we get started. So this is a webinar style conversation that we're going to have today, which just means that your video and audio are turned off. Just kind of helps us keep the flow and make sure that we minimize any background noise as you might be navigating your work days or, doing other things in your life. But that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. So I would like you to take a second if you can, get comfortable with your Zoom panel. We have two options for how you can chat with us today. So we have the webinar chat, which I would love for you to use to maybe introduce yourselves, say what organization you represent, maybe where you're located, and to kind of chat amongst yourselves as attendees. And then we also have the Q&A feature. If you have questions as we go through the webinar today, it would be super helpful for you to specifically use the Q&A feature just because that gives some visibility to myself and the other panelists today, keeps the conversation a little bit separated and ensures that we don't miss any questions you have if the chat starts to get moving. So thank you for that. My goal will be that if I have the opportunity to, if you submit questions that seem applicable to everyone and are in line with the content we're covering at the moment, I will try to pause and answer that question for you. If it's something that's a little bit more specific to your organization itself or a little bit off topic, I might hold that and answer it at the end for our Q&A session. So just so you know, everybody is a priority, and I'm going to get to your questions. I'm not ignoring anything. I just am kind of shuffling based off of what I can answer at what time. And then I think the very last housekeeping item I have before we get going is that common question, is this being recorded? Yes, this webinar today is being recorded. The actual recording itself will likely be added to the nonprofit toolkit on the Give 828 site. Oh, tomorrow is July 4th. Happy July 4th to everybody. Will likely be added to the nonprofit toolkit. I want to say I'm going to aim for end of day today. That is an asterisk depending on how helpful YouTube wants to be as it renders a large recording that I put in there. But worst case scenario, the slides themselves from our conversation will for sure be added by end of day today, and the recording will be added as soon as I can. But the goal is by close today, everyone will be able to access the recording and the slide deck. So without further ado, I do want to pass it over to the host team to just do kind of a quick hello and introduction of themselves before I get moving forward in our conversation. So if you all want to hop off mute and say hi, that would be great.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So excited to finally kick off Give 828 and looking through the chat and seeing who's here. Very exciting to see so many familiar names. My name is Nema, and I'm the program manager for Give 828. I've been with the Young Back and Giving Back Institute now for 5 years, consulting for Give 828, and just so excited to be back with all of you, and hope that this time will be an opportunity to just kind of get through the basics. What does it take to actually get started on fundraising for Give 828? And if you have any follow-up questions, we'll put an email up. And I think once we get the slides up, that you can email any questions you have, but also Ali and I are here to provide any answers, and just excited to kick this off, finally.
And I'm Allie. I'm the summer impact intern through the University of Maryland. I've been involved with Young Back and Giving Back for a solid 3 weeks now, and absolutely loving it. And I'm an incoming master's student at the University of Maryland as well, and I'm super excited to apply the things I've already learned through my internship in my future career as well. And my email is also down there with Nema's, so I'm also a resource if you have any questions. And yeah, we're super excited to get started. Thank you all for coming.
Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into the content of our conversation today. So our general agenda, and I will be the first to admit I'm a chatter, so I'm going to do my best to stick to this, but I might come up with some things that I think are kind of exciting or important, or depending on questions that come my way, we might make a small tangent if needed. But the general goal that I'm going to try to hold myself accountable for is to talk about, first and foremost, the benefits of participating in a giving event like Give 828. We'll talk a little bit about the overview. So what are some important things you need to know about the event? And then kind of from a platform perspective, which is really what I offer to the conversation today, is I want to make sure that when you leave this webinar that you feel really confident on, first and foremost, if you haven't registered yet, I want to make sure that you know how to register. After you're registered and approved, I want to make sure that you know how to access your organization page. And then I want to make sure that you understand what are the next steps that I need to do to get myself up and running, right? So this is really kind of the house tour, so to speak, of Give 828 back end of how do I get there? Where can I poke around? What are some things I need to focus on right now? And then we have some upcoming trainings that we will be adding to the nonprofit toolkit shortly that talk more about like fundraising strategy and how do you use those fundraising features on the Mighty Cause platform. So today is really just kind of welcome to the house. Let's walk around and see what's in all the rooms. So that way you feel confident getting started, and then we can really 2.0 launch from there and utilize those fundraising features as we get prepared. And then we'll hit on, again, the event resources. So what do we have out there and available to you on the Give 828 site for you to start using right now for planning purposes? We'll talk about support. So where do I go if I have questions once I leave? And then we'll have some time for a Q&A. So I actually like to launch a poll when I get started, and I'm going to do this really quickly if folks don't mind answering. I like to get a better understanding of who is virtually in the Zoom room with me. Like I said, I am a chatter, and the fact that I can't see you or, interact with you more efficiently sometimes makes me feel lonely. So this poll is really geared towards getting a better understanding of who you are, how much has your organization participated in Give 828 in the past? Are you a brand new admin? It really helps me tailor some of the points that I'm going to talk about because if we have a room full of new people, I might touch on a few other things. If we have a room full of returners, we might touch on some more high level things. So if you can take just a moment, and I'll probably leave it for maybe another minute as we get more answers coming in, but if you can take a moment, answer these two questions, I just want to be able to see who I'm chatting with today. So appreciate all of the engagement. Perfect. So thank you all for answering. What I'm looking at right now is it looks like, so the first question I asked is how familiar is your organization with Give 828? And it looks like we have about 33% at the time saying this is our first time participating. So welcome. We're so happy that you're joining us. I think this specific conversation we're going to have today is going to be very, very helpful for you because it really is about how now that I have registered and I'm approved, here's where I go from here. We have a good chunk of people who said about 37% said we participated once before, and about 32%, I'm not sure how the math is mathing, but this is what Zoom is telling me, saying that you have participated multiple times. So it looks like we have a really good spread of new, I participated once, I've been here a lot organizations. Likewise, if we switch to your relationship with the giving event, looks like we have a good amount of people who are already registered, you're approved, and you're working on your campaign. So kudos to you. You get a couple gold stars. Way to go for getting in there early and getting started. We have some that are registered and approved, but you're not sure where to go next. Cue conversation today. So that is my challenge is to answer that question for you. We have some that are saying we're planning to register soon, so that's good. We will drive home some of the key dates so that way you can make sure that you get registered in time. And then we have a couple that are just exploring and not sure if you're going to participate. So I challenge my returning organizations to use that webinar chat and maybe talk about, what are some great things that your organization has experienced by participating in Give 828. You and I will work together to win over those 4 people that answered that they're just exploring. right? So that way they leave this conversation today and they're sure that they want to participate in this event. So again, giving events are collaborative. They're a great way to lift shared voices. So if you feel like you can offer some insight, if you can offer some, best practices, best experiences in the chat and kind of work together, that's always fantastic, right? It's great to not just hear from me, but to hear from you all as well. So thank you all for answering that. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about the basics. Um, the benefits of participating. So like I said, a giving event is a collaborative way for nonprofits to participate in a fundraising event. And so from my perspective, I work with some hosts that they are a local event. So you're talking about like one specific area on the map. And so it might be a couple counties, it might be one county, it might be statewide, or in some cases it is national and it's based off of a cause-based giving event. So really at the heart of it, it is a group of nonprofits with some sort of shared quality coming together to be able to fundraise and really amplify and lift each other's voices about the great causes that you're doing, and to collaborate so that way you all can reach a larger donor base and be able to get your great missions and the great work that you're doing out in front of a bigger audience to be able to get additional support. So some of the things we have for the benefits of participating, right? We have raising funds within a short time frame, integrating the event into your annual giving campaign, educating the public about the mission and the work that you're doing, an opportunity really to engage sponsors and then to engage your volunteers. Again, really the goal of how a giving event can help you is not only just amplifying your mission and the great work that you're doing, but the hope is that it turns some of these like one-time donors and touch points into more established and sustainable support for your organization. So it fits really nicely into kind of your already annual giving campaigns as an opportunity to have this time-based ask to bring people together to rally support for your organization. So again, that's one of the things I encourage you, if you can, to write some things in the chat about why if you're a returning organization, why are you coming back every year? What does Give 828 do for your organization? What are ways, if you've been here multiple years, how have you kind of changed your strategy and what Give 828 means to you? So I know it's not a lot of time to formulate maybe a 5-paragraph essay to put all that together, but again, encourage you to use the chat to really, show others what this event means to you. And it might help them reframe or rethink about how they can move forward with their campaign strategy as well. So I'm going to hop over. I think Nema, you said that you might be tackling this slide for the event basics.
Yes. Great. So Give 828 is on its 8th year, and we started this event really after recognizing that there was a need there was a funding gap for what Black nonprofits, Black-led, Black supporting, just really nonprofits that were deeply embedded in the Black community. They were not receiving the kind of funding that other organizations were. And so the hope was to find a place where we can celebrate the work of Black-led nonprofits and connect with people who want to support those causes and have one platform once a year, a national giving day dedicated just to the work of Black-led nonprofits. And over the last 8 years, we've had a lot of success. Many of you are returning. And really if I was to explain the success, it really comes down to how well you can utilize online giving, which is why we're so excited to be partnering again with Mighty Cause, because they really have perfected this practice. They know how to leverage all the tools that are online, all the really sort of ever-changing online marketing tools and practices. So fully excited to dive into all of their best practices, and really want to encourage you to take the time to go through it. It feels like something many of us have gone through before, but I think it's important to really find out why it's working for some nonprofits and not others when it comes to online fundraising. So more about Give 828. The actual live giving day is August 28th. that's the actual day that we will be reaching out to donors, and that's the day that they can give. However, we start early giving on Tuesday, August 26th. And so from August 26th to midnight Eastern time on Thursday, August 28th, that's the last time you can give. So during those 2 days, donors are able to donate to different campaigns and different causes that they care about. And so you can kind of you can mention that in your outreach to your donors. Other thing is registration. So you can register through our website, give828.org, but the requirement is that you need to be a Black-led and Black benefiting organization. And the website lays this out pretty clearly, what it means to be Black-led and Black benefiting. And simply put is that at least 50% of your board and staff must identify as Black, and also that 50% of the people in the community that you work with must also identify as Black. And that is pretty clearly laid out on the website. You can kind of, there's the frequently asked questions, kind of lays out, answers some of the more intricate questions about what it means to be Black-led and Black benefiting. One of the most exciting things about Give 828, though, is that we have so many opportunities for organizations to get prizes on the day. So we have various sponsors that either sponsor organizations that fall under a specific cause area or a geographic area. And those leaderboards will be on the day on August 28th. As much as you can fundraise, the organizations that fundraise the most will get an opportunity to get those prizes. And these are there's so many prizes for different cause areas, different geographic areas, that it's an opportunity for pretty much anyone who is fundraising hard to actually get these prizes that start at a minimum of $250,000, $250 all the way up to thousands of dollars. So it all just depends on the specific leaderboard. Yeah. So I think I'll end there for now, but
we actually have one good question that came through, Nema, that I feel like you and Ali will be able to answer. So right off the bat, the question is, how will this year's Give 828 differ with messaging with the current political climate and anti-DEI efforts in our country?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that's something that we spend a lot of time talking with our partners about as well. But the consensus has been across the board that it really comes down to the work that we do, all these nonprofits. So the importance of the work that we do has not changed just because the political climate has changed. And we want to make this day about celebrating the work that you all are doing in your cause areas, in your geographic areas. So that hasn't changed, and we are planning to highlight that. So it's not, this has never been about like DEI per se. It's always been about celebrating what we are doing for ourselves. So it's like for us, by us. What are Black nonprofits doing in our communities for us? And we want to reach the people who care about that work. So in terms of our messaging, it remains the same in that way. And a lot of our partners feel the same, that they want to recognize the work being done by Black-led nonprofits, and anyone who cares about that work will feel the same and knows where to come to support that.
Great, thank you. All right, so we'll hop over to the next slide, which I think Ali might be.
Yep, exactly. So this just kind of details some basics about like what you need to do to be able to register. Or sorry, what you do after registering. So July 31st is our deadline for registration. So if you're interested in registering, make sure you do it before that date. And then these are some basic things that Natalie will go over in a little more depth. So we have each organization has a profile page through Mighty Cause, and you're more than welcome to add lots of content, photos, videos, showing your audience what you're doing and how, essentially what their money would be going towards. And then having like a really strong call to action. We also have a nonprofit toolkit for you all. And essentially this consists of like some sample social media posts. We have like some guidelines for TikTok, for example, and basically just a bunch of sample things, sample hashtags, etc. We don't, we want to make sure that like our resources are accessible as possible. This is also available through Mighty Cause. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, we do have templated emails, and I think we have a PR release as well. And then in terms of your campaign as a whole, it'd be helpful to think a little bit about like what your goals are, what message you're trying to send out to potential donors, and being able to really think about how that is going to be broadcast throughout social media and throughout the communication networks that you might be using otherwise. And since there is an emphasis on digital communication for this, that's why we have so many tools to help you. Yeah, so then there's peer-to-peer fundraisers, which our second webinar of the year is like fully covering that. So be on the lookout for that if that's something you want to learn more about, and securing matching grants to entice donors. And overall, this is supposed to be like a very engaging, fun thing. Like there's a lot of potential here. And we would just encourage you to be creative, to like try something new. This definitely is like, can be like out of people's comfort zone sometimes. As a former marketing student, like we talked about this a lot, but we're all here to support you, and just feel free to go and try something you might not have thought of before. And speaking of social media, we encourage you, like if you want to take a picture of your screen, and feel free to tag us on Instagram. You can post it on your stories and mention that you're at this webinar. And if you do so, that means that we will look into having your nonprofit featured on our stories. So that way that'll gain more traction for you. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. I can drop our Instagram in the chat after I finish, and yeah, just something to consider.
Perfect.
I think Natalie, you're next.
Yeah, we do have a good question, which I think might be twofold. So I'll answer it from the platform perspective, and then I will pass it over to the 828 team if you have any additional context for that question. So we have an anonymous attendee who wrote in asking, how do you bring donors to us, since our experience is that we reach out to our existing donors? So I'll answer it from a platform perspective. I think one of the beautiful things about an online giving event is that by nature of you doing exactly what you just said, where you're reaching out to your existing donors and you're driving them to the Give 828 website, you're actually bringing new eyes for other nonprofits that might not have been discovered before. If we're thinking about all of us, right, as kind of like we're putting our feelers out into the world and we're bringing people to this one collective site, it's inevitable that those new eyeballs, looking over the Give 828 website, going to the search page, looking at leaderboards and finding names of nonprofits that they're interested in. By nature of you all just organically driving your existing donors to your pages, you're also driving new donors to make awareness for other nonprofits that are participating in the event. So I would say that kind of happens and helps organically. I will pass it over to the 828 team in case there's anything that you want to touch on there from like maybe how you might be advertising 828 as a whole in certain spaces.
Yeah, I can take this one. Nema, if you want to add anything, go for it. From a marketing standpoint, like one of the things that is so great about like doing digital advertising is that you're able to reach a really large amount of people. And there's like, you can definitely like tailor certain posts to be like towards existing donors, but overall just really giving like your audience a clear picture of what you're doing will organically, like Natalie was saying, like really draw people. And Yeah, like we have like I'm gonna continue hyping up our nonprofit toolkit. Um, and those resources will be very helpful. Um, and they will kind of give you some ideas of how to reach out to new audiences through captions and other formats that you might be using. But hopefully that was helpful. Nema, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly looking for new partners. We have a couple, I think this year we will have a couple of new partners. We still have some coming on board. But our goal is to cast like a really wide net when we do our marketing. So advertising the fact that if you come on Give A2A, you can find organizations that work in all these areas that you might care about. So whereas an individual nonprofit might be able to reach out to their donors who care about their specific cause, we want to just like throw it out there, sort of like you can come, and if you care about multiple different things, you can find an organization that meets that area of interest for you. And the great thing about the way the platform is organized is it's really simple for you to kind of go through it, look at different organizations, and the more work you all put into just making your pages as easy to read and as easy to navigate as possible, the easier it is for donors to kind of find the areas that they care about. And we encourage obviously setting up campaigns from your donors and people in your community, so that people who care about those campaigns can easily find them. But yeah, we are reaching out through our donor network, but also social media, um, and really amplifying all our posts. So like a lot of paid posts, reaching out to the wider public and letting them know about the different areas that they can donate to.
Thanks. Awesome. So let's go ahead and we'll jump into some of the more meatier content for our webinar today. I'm going to be a little bit in the slides, and then once we go through more of a platform walkthrough, I'm going to switch over into our demo website. That way you can kind of watch me go through things live that are going to look very similar to your experience. So as we get started, the first most important thing is, how do you access your organization page? So there was a handful of people that are attending today that mentioned that you are either here to just get a feel for whether or not this campaign is right for your organization. And then there were some that said that you are going to register, you just haven't done that yet. So this is just a general reminder that the first step is to register for Give 828. So nonprofits are required to register each year. So even if you participated last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we need you to register each year. Part of that being some of the things that Ali and Nema have already touched on today is that there's new partners who are getting engaged. There's new sponsors that want to be able to give prize funds depending on different types of organizations. And so by requiring you to fill out this registration form each year, we're asking sometimes some new information about geographic location, if that's what a new sponsor is caring about. So we're collecting new information from you each year. We appreciate your willingness to go through that registration process. That allows us to get updated information. The second thing is yes, there is a $25 fee to participate. Once you have gone through the registration process, so how do I access it to begin with? So I'll hop over here to the 828 page, but if we're on the main Give 828 website, if I scroll down here, I see a button that says register today. And so that takes me to the registration page where Nema had mentioned this earlier, but there are kind of robust instructions for your organization, depending on if you are a registered and in good standing 501c3 versus if you have maybe a fiscal sponsor set up, or you're a local chapter of a national organization. You're going to go through and register in a different way. So if you have not registered yet, please make sure that you read these different instructions depending on your organization type before you proceed. We also have terms of participation, which are important to understand and read prior to submitting that registration form. So once you have submitted the registration form, please allow, within reason, probably a 72 business hour window for the team to be able to review your registration submission, confirm your eligibility to participate in the event, and then be approved to participate. So you might be asking yourself, maybe you submitted your registration and you're like, I'm not sure if I'm approved. You will receive an automatically generated email from the platform to the email that you used when you registered, letting you know when your registration status has been changed. And so that email will either notify you that yes, you have been approved, or it might notify you that you have been declined, and it will provide additional information on both sides of the house. So step one, right? Visit the website, register, pause until you hear official notification of whether or not you have been approved. And then once you have been approved, you will move on to the steps that we're going to talk about here in the rest of our conversation. And then again, yes, just a general reminder for those of you who still have your feelers out there that it's okay to have your feelers out, but just know registration does close on July 31st. My general recommendation would be to get in there and get registered as soon as you can, giving yourself ample time to be able to, get oriented to the platform, develop your fundraising team, develop a fundraising strategy, put together a marketing plan, edit your organization page, begin doing some of these strategy items to, really set yourself up for success. We want to give ourselves a few weeks to be able to digest, start laying the building blocks so that we can have a successful campaign. While you can wait and register on July 31st, you will have, less of a window to do some of these things that we're going to be talking about today and in future training. So I just say the earlier, the better. It gives you a lot more time to be able to digest some of the tips and tricks we're going to send out to you, and time to actually employ them without feeling like you're really rushed and trying to throw this together so quickly. So July 31st, absolute last day, but get in there sooner if you can. So step one is register and be approved. After you are registered and you get that email that you are officially approved to participate in Give 828, moving forward, you might ask yourself, how do I access my organization page? And that's a very good question, because you can't start if you don't know where to find your page. So you will go to the Give 828 website. In the top right corner of your screen, you'll see a login option, like you can see highlighted in the slide here. You'll click on that login option, and then you'll land on a page that asks you to log in. So you will put in the information that's associated with your user account that you have used in the past on Mighty Cause, or that you might have created when you registered your organization for the first time. So pretty easy. Just go to the website, click login. Really important, though, to make sure that you are accessing via Give 828's website. Every once in a while, we see a trend where nonprofits start to go to mightycause.com instead to sign in. While you could still technically access your page, that's not the door, so to speak, that we want you to start with. By starting on the Give 828 website and logging in there, the platform understands that you are associated with a giving event, and it's going to allow you to access some fundraising features that come along with your association with a giving event. If you were to log in via mightycause.com, some of those features wouldn't be available to you because you're not going through the right door. So yeah, most important thing is just Give 828 and then log in the top right corner to be able to access your organization dashboard. So once you are logged in, you'll notice that the login option changes from saying logged in to actually it will show your name. If you click on your name, it exposes what we can see here, which is, we call it your user menu. And so in your user menu, you'll see a list of all the organizations that you are currently listed as an administrator for. And you'll click on the one that is, registered and approved for Give 828, so you can access your organization dashboard. So pretty quick steps, right? We register, we wait to see that we're approved, and then moving forward to access our page, we go to Give 828, we log in, and then we navigate via our user dashboard. So those are just the quick steps to get you in there. So that's really hurdle one, is getting yourself registered and then knowing how to get to the page itself. So the next chunk of our conversation is really, again, going to be kind of a high-level tour and overview of what does your organization dashboard look like, and what are some key things that you can be aware of and start to interact with right now to get yourself ready for Give A2A, right? And I think Ali, Nema, and myself have all mentioned that we do have some upcoming trainings and we do have a lot of resources available on the Nonprofit Toolkit that are going to talk to you about peer-to-peer fundraising. They're going to talk to you about securing matching grants or how to better utilize my reports to drive donor engagement. And so those are kind of our 2.0 conversations, where today is really going to be lay of the land and how do I get started. So I'm going to turn off my video for right now, because that way you don't have to look at my side profile while I'm doing kind of a live walkthrough of the site, but I will hop back on when we do Q&A here in a little bit. And then just a general reminder, I think I've seen a couple questions that have come through, but it's kind of hard for me to read and also talk at the same time. So if you do have questions, if you can please submit via that Q&A area, that just allows the three of us as panelists to be able to answer your questions with a little bit more visibility than in the chat itself. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started with the rest of our conversation. So we want to talk about that platform walkthrough, right? So for the purposes of our call today, I'm going to be in our demo environment because it allows me to click in and out of a page without being worried that I'm showing any kind of, donor information or things that I shouldn't be sharing with a larger audience. So for the purposes of today, I am technically I'll be the admin of the Animal Humane Society, and this is my page on the giving event that I am participating in. So, some high-level things that we want to talk about. So this is the view that you will see as the organization admin once you have gone through those first couple steps that I talked about. So we're registered, we're approved, I've gone to Give A2A, I've clicked login in the top right corner and put in my credentials, and then I have opened my user menu to access my organization page. So I will land on something that looks like this. So I know that I'm logged in, right? Because I have this dashboard here. I have this interactive tool to be able to toggle things on and off. If I were to go to my organization page without logging in first, it would just, none of this would be here, except I would just see kind of what the normal donor view looks like. So I would see a page without any real ability for me to be able to make adjustments. So that's a way to know that you've skipped a step if you land on this page and you're not seeing some of these edit abilities that you see here on my screen right now. So just a few, again, we're doing housekeeping today. So once I am here on my organization page, what are some things that I need to know so that I know how to really get started? So when we're looking at the left-hand side, so we're calling this our organization dashboard, we have several different tabs that I can click in and out of to be able to see what type of content lives in those tabs. We won't go through all of them today. We'll just touch on a few of them that are kind of more relevant to I'm just getting started and what do I do next? So this overview tab here, I think, is very important because it has a few interesting things. First thing is that it's showing me that I am registered for Big Day of Giving, or Big Giving Day, and that's what our demo site is called. If you were to log in and go to your overview tab and you look here and it says that your registration is pending for Give A2A, then that's a sign that I should probably, again, hold and wait to get that final approval message that I am approved to participate in the event before I get started on making adjustments to my page. The next thing that I think I would like to touch on in this page is the to-do list. So if I open my to-do list, and this might look a little bit different than the one you see on your page, they are kind of specific to the event that they're associated with. But the to-do list is really a generated, and we'll touch on this, I think, in one of our slides. If not, I'm just going to talk about it right now. But it is really a built-in feature on the Mighty Cause platform that walks you as an admin through some of the most important things that we think you need to do in order to have what we consider like a fully branded page and to provide the best donor experience. So if we open the to-do list here, I'm seeing, complete my organization page, set up my disbursement settings, make sure that I have content on my thank you page, complete my organization page. Again, this is demo, so it's a little wonky. But what I really love about this tool is that as you complete various parts of the to-do list, it will automatically check itself off. So if you're you're like me and you love the satisfaction that comes from completing lists, you'll probably enjoy this. But another great thing is that it does act as kind of a key or a map that helps you navigate the site. So let's say that I see here I need to set up my electronic funds transfer, but I'm not really sure where I go to do that. If I click on that to-do list item, it will actually take me directly to the space on my organization dashboard where I need to complete that item. So really helpful way to kind of make sure that you have what we consider to be the baseline items completed, but also a way to give you a quick, easy navigation if you're not really sure where to start. So that's your overview tab. The tab that you'll be spending the most amount of time on right now as you're getting ready and kind of doing these initial steps for Give 828 is actually the organization page tab. And so this is where we'll be able to make on-screen adjustments to the content that is showing on our organization page. So, if I land on this page and right now I'm like, there's no real way for me to interact with it, that's a good sign that I need to scroll up and toggle on edit mode. And so you'll see that once I toggled on edit mode, I now have all these little interactive icons that allow me to make adjustments to various places on my page. And so we won't go into complete detail on what all of those areas are because we have some really thorough documentation and walkthroughs that are available on the Nonprofit Toolkit, which I'll show you here in a second. But just some general concepts, I guess, when it comes to editing your page. So like I said, you can click on these little editable kind of interactive buttons to see what it is that you can change. And so here I'm seeing the ability to change my banner image or, add a cover overlay. I'm clicking here and I say, oh, I can upload a new image or I can maybe add a white backdrop. Here I can set a theme color for my page. So it really is about being curious, clicking some of these buttons, seeing what they do and deciding whether or not that's an adjustment that you want to make. When it comes to your organization page itself, right, this is the face of your real presence on the Give 828 website. And so regardless of whether you are a returning nonprofit or if you are a brand new nonprofit, I really encourage you to come here and kind of refresh the look and feel of your organization page. So, important things if I'm thinking, we're always flipping the script and we're thinking about the donor perspective, right? So I, as a donor, should land on your page and automatically start to have, those key brand recognition moments where I am recognizing your logo. I am seeing an image that makes sense with the theme or the programming that your organization runs. The theme color you selected should match the branding colors that you have. I'm scrolling down and I'm seeing content that looks what I expect to be associated with your org, right? We all know what the climate is right now is I would say that probably at least 5 times a day, right? I get a spam text message to my phone. I'm constantly, I feel like being tested with phishing email attempts in my email inbox. So like we as consumers, we as navigators of this technological world that we live in are always looking to make sure that am I in a space that is right or is there something fishy about this and I should not proceed? And so we want to make sure when donors land on your page for Give 828 that they're having that recognition and that they're seeing things that make sense. So if you register and you don't really do anything to your page and you don't add a logo and you don't add an image, I'll land here and say, this doesn't feel right. I'm not going to make a donation because this doesn't seem like the organization that I know, right? So like first step is filling out the content and making sure that it feels like a trusted space for your donors. In addition to that, so as we scroll down, right, and I'll turn back edit mode, we have what we call here the About section. So again, whether you're returning and you've participated several years or this is your first year, this About section is really going to be the meat of your organization page. This is where you're providing that brief message of, here, this is who my organization is. This is what we're working on in the community. This is what our programming looks like. And this is what a gift from you at this time is going to do, right? And I think everyone in this call, you're working in the nonprofit space, you know what it feels like to try to secure donations, whether that be through an online campaign or if it's really, people, going out and you're getting checks and you're getting like in kind or you're getting cash donations. The concept is still the same, right? It's that elevator pitch. We want to say enough to engage and have an emotional connection with the donor, but we don't want want to say so much that we lose them, right? So we're thinking about those like high level, most important items to include on our page. What I really love about the setup of the organization page on the Mighty Cause platform is the optional ability, if you want, as the org admin, to leverage an additional tab on your organization page. So by default, when a donor lands on my page and they're scrolling down, they're going to see the content in this About section by default. If you decided to include an additional tab, that would be something that they would opt into reading. And so usually when I'm having this webinar with nonprofits, I recommend that if you are someone, right, and this is everybody, you're all working for incredible nonprofits and you're doing such phenomenal work in your communities, and you deserve to tell everybody everything that you have in your heart. Like you just deserve to impress that passion that you have for your work upon everyone. But I think we also have to like take it back to the menu example, right? If I go to a new restaurant and I open a menu and there's 6 pages, I'm like, this is exciting, but I don't know what to do now, right? So like we just have to, I think, weigh how much we present with the experience that we want that person to have. So what I often recommend is that you utilize this, again, this default that's going to show to all donors. Utilize this tab as that clear, concise message about this is my organization. This is the high level things that you need to know about us in order to decide, that we're the one that you want to support. And this is what your dollars during Give 828 are going to do, right? So it's that clear elevator pitch. If you have additional information that you would love to put in front of donors, but you don't want to add a hurdle to that, like see the page donate experience, use this custom tab to put more of that content. So some ideas, right, that I have seen nonprofits use, I have seen them highlight board members on this custom tab. I have seen them name it like our history. And then when I click over here, I can see like a really cool detailed timeline of like when did the idea come about to start your nonprofit? Were you officially granted that 501c3 status? What are key milestones that you have hit when it comes to your programming, and and when did you hit that milestone with that population and that specific programming that you did? So again, I think it's a great way to show a full story, but it's an opt-in situation. So that way, 99% of the audience who goes through here to read your page is reading the brief, and then they can go into more content if they want to. So that's probably what I'll say here about the organization page, right? Is organization page tab, toggle on your edit mode, and then, be curious, poke around, click on some of these buttons, see what they do, and just know that we do have a full support article that actually goes into depth of each of these sections and what they mean. And, if you are a side-by-side visual learner, you could open up that support article, you could have your page next to it, and you could go through it line by line so that you feel really like you have that map and template to move forward. But for the purposes of today, I think that's where we'll stop with touching on that page. And then I have maybe 2 or 3 other things I want to touch on quickly before we hop over to have some Q&A time. So some other things that I think are important for right now, right? We've talked about how do I get to my page? How do I open my, edit mode of my page so I can make adjustments? Some other, I think, housekeeping items to do as you get yourself started are, so if I come here into my settings, and then I come into my admins, I really can't express enough how important I think it is to come in each year and review the people that have admin access to your organization page. As in every facet of professional life, there is turnover in your organizations, and we want to be protective of our donor information, right? And so I would say that as soon as you are registered and approved, one of the first things you should do once you have access to your page is come into admins and remove anyone who is no longer with your organization or should no longer have, maybe they're with your org, but they have switched focuses and they don't work on your giving event campaign anymore. Go in and clean them up. Likewise, you can add new administrators here if you need to, but I think we owe that to the population of supporters we have and the people that are donating to us, that we're keeping their information private as well. And so good rule of thumb to come in here and clean that up. One other thing, or two other things, I guess. So if we come in here to our general settings, and we're going to scroll down here to where we see social sharing. This is where you as the organization admin can control the default preview image and preview text that is shown. If somebody grabs your organization page link and shares it, let's say on Facebook, or shares it in Slack, or puts it anywhere where like a preview image would have populated, I don't think nonprofit admins always know that this exists, and I think it's just another really great way to control some of that narrative and that marketing and that branding of your page. So do take a look at that. And then last but not least that I'm going to touch on before Q&A is just make sure that you come into your disbursement settings and that you have reviewed, and if needed, if you're returning, make adjustments if you need, or if you're brand new, make sure you're making an election on how you want to receive the funds that are donated to you through Give 828. There are two options to receive your disbursements. You can either go through check, and so that's going to be sent out once a month. There is a $5 service fee that comes along with checks, and they will be sent to your legal address that's on file with the IRS. The other option, which we really, really, really encourage you to do, is to sign up for electronic funds transfer. And so that's essentially just direct deposits into your organization's bank account. There is no fee associated with going that route, and it is the faster, most efficient way to receive your disbursements. So I would say, right, access your register, get approved, get in there to access your page, make adjustments to your page to refresh and make sure we're telling the right message, come in and clean up that social sharing, review my admins, and make sure I'm set with where my funds are going to go. That's a good first step before we then venture into, okay, here are some other tabs and how do I utilize these tools. So yeah, I think we will hop into Q&A now, because I know I told you I talked a little bit longer than I wanted to. Actually, there's one more thing I want to say. Sorry, Nema. Let me go through it really quick. I want to talk about resources that are available to you as participating nonprofits. So I can't express enough how much myself and the 828 team have been working to put together really awesome and engaging and impactful resources for you to use as nonprofits to make sure that you have a successful experience for Give 828. So if I am on the Give 828 website, oh, how handy. There's a little tab here that says for nonprofits. Let's go to that. I have my nonprofit toolkit. I have my nonprofit FAQs. You'll notice fresh off the press, a revamped version of the nonprofit toolkit available this year. Lots of engaging information. I have my milestones. I can link out to view recorded trainings. I can see here, high level, how do I get involved? And then probably one of the most important pieces is this resources for participating organizations section. I would really encourage you to go through each of these steps that we have here, read through the content, look at the resources that we have linked out to, because, some of them might have been inspired by the Give 828 team. Some of them might be Mighty Cause support articles, but really everything that you should need to know about how to navigate your page and how to use these tools and how to utilize this strategy should be in this section for you to be able to use. And then last but not least, actually not least at all, is the spread the word section for you to use the logos and graphics to be able to use in your social outreach and your marketing outreach, and then a communication guide as well, which I know Ali has worked tirelessly on. So you have templates, you have press release, you have tweets, you have Facebook. So if you lack digital creativity, like myself, this is going to be a great space for you to go to, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just copy what sweet Ali has put together, put your organization name in there, and then send that out. So again, our hope is to make this as easy as possible for you, because we know the incredible work you're doing. We know how much you have on your plates, and we want to be an extension of your team and provide resources for you to be able to make this the best possible experience. So I will my mouth now. I'll pass it over to Nema and Ali, and thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, Natalie. That was really helpful. Just a couple of things. One is I just want to reiterate the importance of just starting as early as possible to set up your page. The sooner you can get it set up, the sooner you can reach out to your pool of donors and start advertising your campaign. So just really want to reiterate the importance of utilizing all the tips, tricks that Natalie has shared with us, and all the resources that we have. I also, again, about the resources, yes, Ebony and Ali have done an amazing job on the nonprofit toolkit. So if you are like Natalie and I, not a social media whiz, there's sample tweets, sample messaging for LinkedIn, for Facebook, for all kinds of platforms. And you can just kind of go in there. If you are a small nonprofit, like some of us are, where it's like one or two men, woman, or person, ship, you want to get in there and just kind of pull the templates that are there and make them work for your nonprofit. So you don't even have to start thinking about how do I market, because they're marketing geniuses in the names of Ebony and Ali who have thought about this for you. So please utilize the nonprofit toolkit. But I also wanted to throw this out to anyone who's interested. Myself and Ali and Ebony, as well as our registration lead, who some of you might know because they might have reached out to you, Norma. We are available to do Instagram lives over the next couple of weeks. So if you would like an opportunity to talk about your nonprofit on our platform, we are happy to jump on an Instagram live and just kind of interview you, talk about your nonprofit, and that will be an opportunity to kind of open up you to a different audience. So if you're interested, let us know. Reach out to me. You can reach out to Ali. You can reach out to info@youngblackandgivingback.org. And you would be excited to schedule an Instagram live and just talk a little bit more about your nonprofit. And I will hand over to Ali before we get into the questions.
Yeah, so I just dropped the email that Nema mentioned in the chat. And that's like our primary, like if you have any questions, like feel free to reach out there. And yeah, just like a few things relating to that. So I also, well, okay, I thought I linked the Instagram in the chat and then Natalie corrected me because I accidentally sent it to her and Nema, which isn't super helpful because we all know what the Instagram is. So yeah, so she put that in. I can send it to everybody. I'll do that right now. So that's like something that like feel free to follow us. We post pretty regularly. And you can also, not only can you like see like more events and stuff that we're hosting, but also like what other nonprofits that have benefited from Give 828 have done. And just hearing about other opportunities and stuff. So in terms of other events, our next webinar is in 2 weeks from today. There will be more information coming out about that very soon. It's going to be a lot more casual. We're talking about peer-to-peer fundraising with our partner Back Black, and we're going to be able to like have like more of a discussion based thing. So a little bit different than this one. But yeah, we hope that you all come out, and if you're interested to learn more about peer-to-peer fundraising, it's going to be a really great time. Yeah, I feel like that's all I have now before we go into questions.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I missed because I was trying to zip my lip because I was talking for too long is what you can expect moving forward as far as also emails as we get geared up for Give 828. So there's kind of a two-pronged approach, and I think that actually got employed starting yesterday. So just keep an eye out for your emails. But we have kind of a two-part series that's going out. So we have onboarding emails, which is a series of, I believe it was 5 emails that are on kind of a delay of when they'll be sent to you. But once you are registered and approved to participate, you will be added to this list and you'll get added to this email journey. But really what that is just kind of a summary of small snippets of some of the things we talked about today. So it is a welcome, it's a how do I get started, it's answering some of those like quick kind of like what are my initial actions supposed to be. And then we have a more robust like a gear up series of emails, which are going to be sent starting, I think it's the 6 week out. So that those will be coming soon, but those are going to be more robust, including more like hands-on tips, driving you to places on the platform to be thinking about certain things. And so I like to communicate that in advance so that way you're not like, oh my gosh, what are all these messages? I want you to know what to expect so that you see them as friendly and helpful and not so much like you like I'm an over communicative guest that you don't want to be hanging out with. So keep an eye on your inbox for those. They're going to be really, really helpful. And again, put together by the Give 828 team, just full of really helpful tips and tricks. So those will get moving soon. But yeah, so for anyone who has to hop off, we really, really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy days to spend time with us and get oriented about Give 828 and the platform. I have another, 5 minutes to hang out if people do have questions, so feel free to send them. But again, general reminder, in the next probably 15 minutes, the slide deck will be available on the Give 828 training page. The rendering of YouTube will be there as soon as YouTube coordinates with me and uploads everything for me. So that will be coming soon. But yeah, so thanks to anybody who has to hop off. The people that are still on, if you do have any questions and want to send them into the Q&A area, I think our team can wait a minute or two to see. And if nothing comes in, then we will part ways.
Natalie, I think there were 2 questions. Allie, you had them.
Oh yes. So we have someone who asked if you can register with Outlook or Google.
Oh, so actually like signing into the website. So we do have different ways to be able to log in, right? So I think by default, and let's hop over here to Give 828. So if I'm not logged in and I needed to log in, you can use Google. So if you needed to just like associate that with your email, or you can just click to sign in via email. So whatever option works best for you, but those are the two that we currently have available to be able to use as kind of like that touch point.
That's any email.
Yes. Yep. So like that could have been like if you have a Hotmail or you have a Yahoo or something like that, you can log in that way. Or right, if you have like I guess I see it as more like a single sign-on or something like that. But if you want to use Google, you can utilize that. So I would just say be consistent with whatever you have used in the past, because like that's going to have all of, if you have donated and tied it to your email that you've used in the past, like we want to keep everything kind of in a hub, in a space. But if you are new to Give 828 and you're like, I haven't registered yet and I'm just not sure what email to use whatever email you have that you'll use moving forward, and a password that you're going to remember. But yeah, you have those 2 options to be able to log in. If you have any issues logging in, and again, I don't know that I reiterated this part enough, the Mighty Cause customer support team is here to be able to help you with like technical questions that you have. So you'll notice as you navigate both the front end and the back end of the website, there's a little question mark down here in the corner. If I click on that question mark, I see the option to browse help topics. So if you're like me and you like to figure out an answer before you ask somebody else, I could type in, let's say like peer-to-peer fundraising or something, and then I would start to see it give me answers based off of that. If I wanted to talk to a member of the Mighty Cause customer support, if I click contact here, that will allow you to submit a form which puts you in communication with our support team to be able to answer your questions. So anything that's like platform related, so let's say you're having a tough time getting logged in, or you notice something that seems a little bit buggy on your dashboard, or maybe you tried to save something and it's not saving, or you're trying to get something to work platform related, Mighty Cause. If you're thinking about like fundraising strategy and best practices for communicating your message, or for securing sponsors, things like that. While our team can certainly help you with that, I would say that you can look at the 828 team as kind of like your strategy partners, right? And then Mighty Cause as your technology partner. So while we're both working together behind the scenes and we're happy to answer questions for each other or pass them back and forth as needed, I would say that if you're looking for like our particular strengths, we, Mighty Cause, are going to be great at your platform. I'm stuck, I'm on a computer, I need help with that computer. And then the 828 team is definitely going to be your like strategy kind of like thought partners in your preparation for the event. So that's just a plug there. So hopefully I answered that question.
Thank you so much, Natalie. There was one other question that came in pretty early about early giving.
Okay.
Can we, is early giving 24 hours? Does it end at midnight?
So the early giving, I think we can think about it as a continuum, right? So like early giving just leads into the giving event itself. So it's not like early giving, I guess, technically ends because then it happens to be the giving event. So I think we can look at it more like when we're thinking about like a giving event in general, right? The reason that a lot of people host these is because having a time-based parameter around giving helps to really like drive donor activity, drive excitement. You have a time and a space where people should go and do something, as opposed to like just saying like give to me sometimes. Like people will forget, they'll have the best of intentions, right? So there's a reason why we do a time based. So let's think about that as like actual Give 828 itself. We do have technically that early giving period that opens on Tuesday, and that is because we know that some donors are going to be really anxious to give early, or maybe they're like, I have like crazy obligations on the 28th and like I can't get online to be able to give to you, but I want to support you for this campaign, so I'm just going to give 2 days early. So we can think about that as like donations. I think, and Nema, unless you want this to be different, but I think what we agreed upon was it'll open at 8 a.m. on the 26th. And then so donations for 828 technically run from 8 a.m. on the 26th until midnight on the end of 828. So that's kind of how we can think about it, right? Is like we're likely wanting to use that time-based urgency to drive people on 828 itself, but knowing that there is this early giving period for donors who might need to give early or are excited to kind of get started early so that they can kind of amplify your success prior to the day.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Did
Okay,
we
we
get
had two other questions, one of which I'm actually sort of typing out a response to. One about being sorry, let me pull it up again. If if a nonprofit can be a fiscally sponsored org.
Yep, you can be a
About
fiscally sponsored organization. So if you go to the register page for Give 2 8, so again, if we just come back to the main website, if we click on register today, you'll see here that there are instructions for what to do if you are a fiscally sponsored nonprofit or a local chapter of a national organization. And so without going into like the full nitty gritty of what this looks like, essentially the process that you need to follow based off of the instructions here allows you to work with our customer support team to build out a page on Mighty Cause for you to locate and register for Give 828. Because we automatically have nonprofits preloaded. We actually sync with the IRS database. So every nonprofit that's in good standing with the IRS technically has a page that can be claimed on Mighty Cause. But if you are fiscally sponsored or if you are a local chapter of a national organization, you don't have one of those individual pages yet available to you unless you've already participated on Mighty Cause before and built that page with our customer support team. So yes, you can participate. Your instructions are just slightly different. You'll talk to our team. You'll provide the documentation that they need to verify who you are and that the fiscal sponsor has agreed to sponsor you. They'll build out a page and then they'll respond back to you and let you know like, hey, that's all set. Now feel free to go to the registration page and you'll be able to find your org page to claim and then move through the registration process.
cool. And then we had another question about integrating Mighty Cause and Bloomerang, which I think you can, but it has to be through a third-party platform.
That's a good question. So I will admit that like the like real nuanced questions about some of like the integration on the organization level are like not where I live the majority of my time. I will say that if you are logged in, we do have this integrations area where you can see some of the integrations that are available. So I would say like poke through those. I think as Ali alluded to, we have Zapier, which I think sometimes means that if it doesn't explicitly exist, you can create like a Zap that allows you to like tie two things together that wouldn't normally work together. So I would say to explore that area first. And then absolutely, if you're in there and you have more questions, reach out to our customer support team because from my position, I'm working usually at more higher level, like our giving event host to plan strategy, build out the overall website, do those things. Our customer support team lives more in like that, like helping the nonprofit level, helping the donor level. And so they'll have more answers for you or best practices, suggestions to like utilize some of these things. But I would say definitely come into this integrations area and then see what a Zap might be able to help you pull off. And then we have a question just to confirm we cannot log in via Outlook. You can use your Outlook email. So as I showed in that previous kind of walkthrough, if I click log in, if you have a user account that's, Natalie at outlook.com and you've already used it to register your organization, when I come here, I type in Natalie at Yahoo or at outlook.com, I put in my password and then I sign in. So yes, that is, if you've created your user account with your Outlook email, then you can come here and you can type in the Outlook email and then add your password.
And can you add more emails? Like say you're the person who registered, but you want to hand it over to your comms team or other people?
Yep. And so that goes back to one of those things that we touched about during our conversation today, which is cleaning up your administrators. So once I am registered and approved to participate, I would come here to my organization dashboard. I would come into my settings area. I'd come into admins. And then this is where, I would add an additional team member if they need to have access to my page. So just because you are the one that registered doesn't mean that you're the only one that needs to have access, right? And there are some teams where you might be a one-person show and you're doing all this on your own. Kudos to you. If you are a multi-person team, then coming in here into your admins, removing anyone that is no longer applicable, adding new people that need to have access, that's where you would go to be able to do that.
Excellent. Any more questions?
I appreciate the 14 people who have hung on this long. So thank you for going on this ride with us. I think that might be the end of the question. So yeah, I want to reiterate just thanks for taking the time to hang out with us today. I hope that you leave this conversation feeling like you are one step, closer to understanding what you should do next and feeling confident in how to get started. If you are lingering and you were the ones that weren't sure if this was right for you, hopefully we have convinced you. So if you need anything moving forward, of course, like I said, reaching out to Mighty Cause via that support channel or reaching out to the 828 team with those emails that they provided, which I think we have on like one of those first slides. So I'll just put that up again one more time to be able to have here. Anything, Ali or Nema, before we officially stop broadcasting?
Just thank you all for coming out, and we hope this was really helpful in figuring out your campaigns, and we're really excited to work with you all.
Yes, and just please feel free to reach out directly to us. We will send an email after this with all of our emails, but info@youngblackandgivingback.org is a great one.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Looking forward to working together as we move forward. Bye, everybody.
Okay.